So we will begin tonight, and we will begin with Lynn Sebring, who's going to answer our first question tonight, and then the same question with Mr. Glick and Mr. Peasonos. We appreciate all of them being here tonight. Also, we should also thank them for putting their name out there and running for public office. That is a difficult task. It is a hard thing to do and put your family through. I've done it myself, and I understand. I'm a guy that lost by 40 votes, and I'm a guy that lost by 2 votes. So I understand how this thing goes. So it is not an easy thing to do. So I appreciate all of these gentlemen tonight that have put their names out there to run because of their care for our city. All right, first question. Very simple question to begin the ceremony tonight. Lynn, what made you want to run for Tullahoma mayor?
Is this our opening statement?
Well, I did the same thing at Manchester. I did exactly the same thing. I cannot believe I did that again. Same exact problem. Okay, your opening statement, sir.
You're excited about your questions, I get that, and so hopefully I'll answer that in my opening statement. But I am Lynn Sebring, and I'm excited to be here this evening, and I'm excited for this opportunity to be your next mayor. I know some folks may not know me, so I'll tell a little bit about myself, even though I don't like doing that very much. But I first moved to Tullahoma 34 years ago in 1990 to attend school out at UTSI, married a local girl, and you see where I ended up. I've been blessed to raise my 3 children with my late wife, Teresa, in Tullahoma, and we've always felt that Tullahoma is a special place. I've worked 32 years as an aerospace engineer, mostly at AEDC, and it's been my privilege to be involved in civic leadership in Tullahoma for over 17 years now. I served several years on the Tullahoma Planning Commission, and then 15 years ago I helped create the Tullahoma Area Economic Development Corporation, and I've been the chair of that board for 14 years. We started that board in the middle of the Great Recession and worked to help our businesses rebuild through that hard time, and we've had good success. Now we have a thriving retail sector, and that helps support our school system and our city infrastructure. In addition, I've served as one of your county commissioners for the last 6 years. I've been on the budget committee for the county all 6 years, and I've been the chairman of the budget committee for the last 2 years. But that's enough about me. There's been a lot of discussion about change and growth in our city over the last few years. And I want to tell you that I'm an optimist, and I believe that whatever challenges our city may face, we can solve those together. And I believe that because I've seen what really makes Tullahoma great, and that's you, the people of Tullahoma. I believe Tullahoma embodies the volunteer spirit. Our city's full of talented people who devote their time to helping others. You just see it everywhere. You run youth sports programs in baseball, softball, basketball, football, soccer, even golf and bowling. You support multiple service organizations that are all active. We have groups devoted to seniors and those who need assistance, and we have outstanding programs for art and theater, both in our schools and our community, and this is what makes Tullahoma a great place to live. But if we want to keep great talent in our community, we need to provide opportunities for our graduates. We value our education in Tullahoma, and I believe we want to see our graduates be able to build a life here. That requires 2 things: good job opportunities and housing they can afford. Housing is a challenge everywhere in Middle Tennessee right now because of the growth that's coming to Middle Tennessee. But I believe we can work to locate the housing we need while respecting the rights of the existing property owners. And finally, I want to say a few words about civility and respect. Many of you have expressed to me disappointment and frustration with some of the conduct in our city board meetings. And in today's social media world, the conduct of our board is seen as a reflection of our entire city. Our BMA meetings should be focused on doing the business of the people in a professional and orderly manner, and that's how I will conduct business. As mayor, I'll show civility and respect to everyone and focus on getting the work to benefit you and your family. I thank you for your attention. I look forward to the rest of the forum.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Glick.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Kurt Glick, and I've lived in Tullahoma most of my life, and I'm lucky enough to have lived here with my wife, Carla, and I'm also lucky to have my almost entire family living here. My mother, Joyce, and her husband, my dad, Sheldon, and my sister, Kim, and her husband, Mike. So for the last 38 years of that time, I've served the city of Tullahoma. For 36 years, I worked as an employee and a department head, and the last 2 years I've served as an alderman. During that time, I've worked with 6 city administrators, 7 mayors, countless aldermen. I've served them all, but mostly I've served the people of Tullahoma. And I listen to the people of Tullahoma. And that's why I know what the main priorities, what the people of Tullahoma want. And that is what I've based my priorities on, and that is to manage the growth of our city and to preserve the Tullahoma we love. And that's not to stifle growth, that's to manage it and run it in the proper direction that we all can be happy with. Also, we need to upgrade our aging infrastructure, especially our roads. They become in deplorable condition in some cases. And as alderman, I introduced a plan to help start down the road of repairing our roads, and we're going to further that as we move forward. And then lastly, we need to ensure fiscal responsibility because we do not want to increase the tax burden on our citizens. I think we're taxed enough as it is. So with working on those 3 things and with the leadership I've learned and what I've learned about the city from working with the city so long and with the people of Tullahoma, I think I could help lead this community into a successful future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Pisanez.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Petros. I came to Tullahoma in 1988. I'm not a politician, so I cannot talk like these 2 gentlemen. I am a working class. I've always been working. Elections are not about the candidates or who is going to win. It is about the people. It is up to you, the voters, to choose the right person to lead this town for the next 4 years. The city of Tullahoma is doing well. It is growing, and hopefully it will continue to grow. A lot of things have been accomplished by this administration as well as the previous ones. However, I believe that there are certain things that can be improved. It is extremely important to repair and strengthen the foundation of this city as we expand. I have been involved in the politics of this city since 1988. The issue of homeless people needs to be addressed, and a solution is imminent. Successful business people pay their taxes, but those who can afford, and we have plenty, should contribute more for this cause. I have contributed in many ways as a business owner in this town. I never denied a person, a homeless person, or a family, a free lunch or a dinner at my restaurant. Countless times people walk in my restaurant and they ask for food, for money, for gas money, and other things. I'm always willing to help people. I am not here just to get elected to be mayor of Tullahoma. I am here, I'm running for mayor because I believe I can change things around. Tullahoma is going through a period that is very embarrassing for this city. Things need to be changed. Voters should judge the candidates depending on what they have contributed, not on the promises they make about the future. I set challenges, I give my all, and I get at the top of the mountain, always. If you choose to elect me, I will prove to you, I am very confident, that I will deliver to you, to the people of Tullahoma. I will make things happen, and no more embarrassing meetings. Some people make promises they cannot keep just to get elected. I make only one promise. Whatever goals I set out to accomplish for you, the people of Tullahoma, I will accomplish them. The income of the city keeps growing, but it's never enough. I will strengthen the foundation of this city. If you have a house, You need to make sure the foundation of the house is strong enough to support a second floor. Otherwise, it will collapse. I see a foundation in this city that needs to be stronger as more business and people are coming in. The roads need improvement. People serve at the city hall, they talk about it, but no results. Vandalism
30 seconds.
is on the rise, crime is on the rise, drugs are on the rise. We cannot continue to throw every problem under the rug and hide it and ignore it. When people complain about different issues, I will hear them. There is plenty of money in this town for as long as the people's voices are heard and the money is used and distributed properly. I will serve you with honesty and respect. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we will start with our questions. We'll start in the middle this time. We'll go with Mr. Glick to answer our first question. And we're going to kind of reword what I said earlier a little bit because some of the things that you said, I already said that. So we'll say this. What is the reason, one reason, that came to your mind and you said, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to run for mayor of Tullahoma. What hit you that said, it's time?
I want to run for mayor of Tullahoma because I think I could do things to improve Tullahoma, and that is really the main reason why anybody should want to run for mayor. I think that I have learned things over the years with working for the city for as long as I have and serving as an alderman, and then with all the people that I've known in Tullahoma for living here all my life. I think I know what the people want, and I talk to the people. I am just an average Joe person out there, so I kind of know what they want, and I think that I can represent that well and bring Tullahoma into the future.
All right, Mr. Picenos, you will be next to answer that question. What is that one main reason that you decided it was time for you to step into the political realm of Tullahoma and say, I'm going to run for mayor?
Because I work at the restaurant since 1988 in this town, I was able to talk to many mayors and aldermen and other politicians in this town. I have seen how they've done things. Many things I didn't approve. I think a lot of money are wasted, mishandled, without accusing anybody. I think that money can be more wisely spent. I believe I am the right person to bring discipline in the board of mayor and aldermen, and also to distribute the money that can in Tullahoma more productive.
Mr. Seaver.
So for several years, I mentioned I've been on the county commission, and one of the things we did as a county commission is we put together a strategic planning committee, which I chaired. One of the things I learned when I was as the economic board chair is that communities that succeed are communities that take action. And so we have worked hard on that board to learn what needs to be done. And a lot of that involves working relationships with other organizations outside the city, with the state economic board, with the federal government. And so I've been doing things like that for 10 or 15 years now. I'm active in Arnold Community Council. We go to Washington every year. We go to the Pentagon. We go to our congressional representatives. And it just became very clear to me that one of the things you just have to have is cooperation to get things done. And then on top of that, we've got opportunities right now that we may not see again for another 20, 30 years. There's a very large amount of money coming into AEC. The state's building a large industrial complex in our city. And I have experience helping put things like that together, and I just thought it was the time to do this, to get involved and try to move our city forward, and I appreciate your vote.
All right, Mr. Picenos, we'll start with you with this question. This has been briefly mentioned by each one of you already. Plans, now we talk about plans for growth, and we can throw that word out there, growth, and we know what that means. But there's positive and there's negatives to that. We want to talk about the positives of growth in Tullahoma and what you would like to see in your term as mayor of Tullahoma. What are some positive growth things that you would like to see?
I support the growth of Tullahoma. People coming in Tullahoma and new business and new developments. At the same time, as I mentioned in my opening statement, it is extremely important to have a better foundation in the city, the streets and many other things in Tullahoma to make sure that we can sustain and support the new business and the new people coming in Tullahoma.
Lynn, we'll go to you with this one, then Mr. Glick.
Could you repeat that question?
Okay.
Just make sure
For the growth of Tullahoma, we talk about a lot of times where people want to talk about, we need to grow. And so there has to be a positive, and then sometimes there's got to be negatives to growth. So that's what I'm looking for, is positive growth. How do you see that working out?
Yeah, so the growth of the city of Tullahoma is, everybody's talking about it right now because it feels like it's growing, right? You look around, you see all this traffic on Jackson Street. If you look at the population, we're not actually growing as fast as you think. We've been growing about 1% a year, a little under 1% a year for a very long time, and that's continued this last year. But what's happening is the communities around us are growing faster. And so we're getting all their traffic. That's great because they're coming in our town and shopping. So some of the positives that we need to see is we do need to improve our infrastructure. We need to improve our roads. But to do that, we're going to have revenues through tax revenues to do that. And there's two choices in Tullahoma, which is tax revenues from sales tax, which we're doing okay on, but we could do more, and in property tax. And the only way to increase your property tax without raising the rates on you guys is to have some development in the county, or in the city. One of the things that happens, I want to mention real quickly, we do have higher tax rates in Coffee County. One of the reasons is because AEDC doesn't pay property tax. And so our county tax rate is higher, and then everybody in here pays county property taxes, even as a city. And so one of the positive things we need to look for is we need to look for some property development to help support our property taxes, and then we'll be able to afford our schools and our roads and the infrastructure that we need.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Glick?
I'll make it all.
Okay, it should be fine.
Okay, I'll make it unanimous that I am also for growth in Tullahoma. But as the other candidates, I am for a managed growth. I think we need to make sure that we grow in a positive direction and that we're protecting the Tullahoma we love. We don't want to grow into something that we are not and something that we don't want to be. So I think that's important that that growth is planned, and that's why, as an alderman, I proposed the Community Plan Development Committee. That's a group of citizens that are working on our long-range comprehensive plan, and I sit on that committee. We've been meeting for almost 2 years now and have had open public meetings to develop this plan for once a week, for sometimes twice a week. So hours have been spent at public meetings to develop this plan. The plan for our growth is the people's plan. It is made for the community, by the community, and that's why we are going in that direction.
All right, we'll continue a little bit on that pattern that we kind of briefed on with the other questions. Lynn, we'll start with you. Talk about growth in the city. And I hear sometimes, that North Jackson, the main thoroughfare through town, is really crowded. And we see more and more people coming to town and spending money, which is always a positive. But some people are complaining that the road is very narrow through town because, it was built a long time ago, and of course we didn't expect that when all that was done. So, is there anything when it comes to this, because I want to make this clear to the public. This is my main reason why for asking this question, so the public understands about North Jackson Street as we know it. We see Wilson Avenue and the expansion there, and we know that that is a state, that's a state-run thing. They're doing that work. So what about North Jackson and expanding North Jackson? Is that even possible for the city to do?
First of all, I think that's a state highway as well, so I don't think the city can do that on our own. Let me say a couple words about the city and the traffic. One of the issues we have in Tullahoma is the way we are kind of constrained more than the average city. We can't go towards Moore County because they're a metropolitan. We're kind of bound by the railroad and the hills to the west. We're bound by AEDC on the southeast, and so there's only so many places we can put things like that. There has been discussion of widening Cedar Lane, and I think that would help. But that is one of our challenges we're going to have to really work on. The other issue with Jackson Street is serving on the economic board. We're always trying to get retail to go somewhere besides Jackson Street. We would love to open out and get 55 towards Tullahoma having some of our retail. The retailers want to be on Jackson Street because that's where the traffic is, and retail loves the traffic. So I apologize that we haven't found the solution to that yet, but it really has. And there's room to spread up and down further north and south on Jackson, which I suspect is what the retailers will want to do. But I would like to find a way that we could push some retail onto other locations. And if we could widen Cedar Lane, I think that's a project that's already on the books. And even make better use of Atlantic Street. That's one of the things you see in smaller towns that are kind of locked in a lane like this as they start trying to find parallel paths. I've seen it succeed in other cities.
Mr. Glick?
Yes, that is a state route. It would be difficult for us to grow it, and the way it's developed along there, I think the widening of it would be very difficult. But at the Cedar Lane widening is a thing that is in the works, and it is planned to do that at some point. And also, I think widening or upgrading, I don't know how much wider we could actually make it, but upgrading Atlantic Street and making a nice shoulder on it, that would take some traffic off of Jackson Street. And it would also open up another corridor for retail development along Atlantic Street. So I think it would be twofold an advantage of taking traffic off Jackson and opening another retail corridor.
Mr. Pustos, I know this will hit you because of your business being on North Jackson. So your comment on this.
Yes, I have business in North Jackson Street, and a few years ago, the previous city administrator hired two companies from out of town to make a study about Tullahoma. Both studies came out with Tullahoma looks old and tired. I never understood why we had to pay money for somebody to tell us what is obvious. North Jackson Street has a little junk everywhere, not only North Jackson, everywhere. Tullahoma needs cleaning, painting. We need to get prettier. So, as far as North Jackson, a lot can be done for as long as people are willing to. Thank you.
It's kind of amazing that you mentioned this because that's leading right to my next question. So I'm going to let you have it first since you brought it up. My next question is about sprucing up the town, making it look more attractive. We have a good looking city. There's beautiful places in town, but there's other places that maybe need improving. So what can the city do and what can you do as mayor to help that area? Because there are certain areas, like you say, that do have some problems, and other areas that are very beautiful. So we kind of bring it up to scale, even the playing field. What would be a plan?
Over the years, I was able to purchase properties on North Jackson Street and South Jackson Street and behind Walgreens and Spring Creek Road. And I have been targeted personally from the city codes and city administrators, not the current city administrator. And it cost me a lot of money and headaches. But if every citizen of Tullahoma relies on himself and how to fix his house and how to fix his yard, how to paint his house, we don't have to rely 100% on the city to do things for us. So in my opinion, people should be more responsible for their own property, their own yard, and their own house to make the city more attractive.
Mr. Zero.
Yeah, that is another hard question. We've talked about this question a lot on the economic board. What can we do to make the town look nicer? And every dollar we would spend doing that would be a dollar we could put in the sidewalks that people want and improve the roads. And so it becomes a money challenge as much as anything if you really want to go up and down Jackson and clean it up. And the other thing is trying to encourage the tenants up and down Jackson Street to do that. And of course, the challenge you get into there is, businesses are, especially when we first started our board, we're struggling, and then you're going to tax on extra cost to them to clean their place up. But there probably is a place for codes enforcement to clean up the worst offenders, and I think actually some of that has been done the last few years here and there. And I'm not sitting here claiming we want to go out and harass our business owners and property owners about that. But in the case where it's really blightful, then the city can take that on. But I think until we solve some of our bigger problems, it would be hard to justify spending a lot of money, like just rebuilding Jackson Street or something just for appearances.
Mr. Glick.
Yes, the beautification efforts, that is a hard problem to talk about. We've talked about that a lot in the Community Plan Development Committee about how to do that without stifling too much development. Because while you want to enforce codes and have strict codes on how things look to have an attractive town, you can't be so strict as to preclude more development that you might get. So it's kind of a tough issue there, but I do think the city could step up a little bit on some codes enforcement issues. I think they've worked on hiring another codes enforcement official to go out and look at things that are grossly inadequate. Other things I think that the city could do is just maybe start a marketing effort and start programs that will make people want to get involved and want to make their businesses better, want to do it themselves, because there's only so much the government can do, and we don't want the government getting involved in the people's business.
Thank you. All right, the next question is one that I know people have been concerned about and have talked about in the community. The mayor is the chairman of the board of Mayor and Aldermen during the meetings. Some meetings have been very controversial at times. There have been things that have been very heated at times. As a mayor, how would you plan to diffuse a situation to keep a discussion going in a positive direction and staying on task of what the issue is that you are talking about at that current time? Mr. Seaborn.
So I think this is a fairly straightforward answer, but it may not be completely possible. I mean, at the end of the day, the mayor can't control another person's decisions, how they choose to behave. However, Robert's Rules provides for a way to conduct meetings, maybe we need to have some meetings, a way to conduct meetings to minimize that sort of thing. And I think there's two rules that need to be enforced more evenly in city board meetings. And the number one is nobody should be interrupting anyone. Robert's Rules of Orders provides for every single member of the board to have their opportunity to speak, and everyone will get to have their say, and everybody has the same vote. And number two, no personal comments. If those two rules were enforced, 90% of the problems on the board would go away. But it would also require aldermen who are willing to abide by those rules. And so I would ask the public to let the aldermen know, and the mayor, if I'm elected, you can let me know the same thing, that behavior is not acceptable. And we can't get what we need done for the city done with that. And if someone feels like they have some personal comment they need to say, they're free to do that the moment they step out of the boardroom. There's not a media site in this city, a newspaper, anybody who won't take a statement from an alderman complaining about whatever issue that is they want to complain about. So nobody's free speech is going to be stifled, but let's obey the rules.
Kurt.
Yes, I think the mayor needs to take a hand with the gavel to keep the meeting in order and to keep things running with Robert's Rules of Order. That's why the Robert's Rules were adopted by the board, because it keeps an orderly meeting running. It's designed for that. So it would take the chair in charge to be able to do that. And as Mr. Seaborn said, it will take willing aldermen, but the Robert's Rules does provide for ways to deal with anybody that doesn't want to follow the rules. So I think you'd have to take a hand in that. And I think that a lively debate within the rules is a good thing to go on, but it should be a professional debate and following the rules. So, as I said, the chair it's his job to keep that meeting in order.
Mr. Priestos, your opinion about this?
The answer to this question is very simple. With one word: discipline. The mayor should use all his powers to put discipline in the meetings, and at the same time should talk with all the aldermen and explain to them how we need to have a good image out there for us as a city and those who are watching us. And explain to them, well, if they are misbehaving, you treat them like children, and you explain to them and convince them what is the good thing to do for the people of Tullahoma, for the name of Tullahoma. That's my answer.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, next will be a question that is a little different for Tullahoma than it is just down the road in Manchester. We do have a city administrator in town, and Mr. Quick. So the mayor's role is a little bit different here than it might be in other places that don't have a city administrator. So what role do you believe the mayor should have in the general day-to-day operations of the city government? Mr. Click, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, as you said, the city of Tullahoma has a city administrator form of government and a weak mayor. So all the decisions of the board for the city administrator carry out are made by the board of mayor and aldermen at meetings, and that sets the guidelines. Where the mayor would come in would be to be the person on point to work with the city administrator, ensure that these directives and the plan put down by the board of mayor and aldermen is enforced and is run properly and in the board's wishes.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Priestos.
I think I have seen many city administrators in this town the last 36 years. This is the first time with the current city administrator that I have confidence, and I think he's a very capable and he's good for the city. Of course, I have some suggestions, but I have great confidence on the current city administrator.
Thank you. Mr. Seaborn.
So I think the mayor's job in general is one of representing the entire city, and I think that applies to working with staff of the city. I think it's very important that the board of mayor and aldermen, and the mayor in particular, should have trust and confidence in the staff. I have found working at the county commission, I've worked very closely with the budget director, and I just find that everything runs better when you let the budget director do her job and the budget board does their job. Our job is to make decisions about how to spend the money, and the budget director's job is to make sure all that gets carried out. I don't think we need to come in and micromanage the staff. I think we need to be working with the staff. I do think the mayor plays a role in that, hopefully if the mayor's a trusted individual, that if there are issues in the city, the staff can feel free to come talk to the mayor about those sort of things, but I don't think it's my job or any other mayor's job to get in between the city administrator and the staff. I think our job is to try to keep things running smoothly and cooperate and let the staff do their job.
All right, gentlemen, this next question could stir up a few thoughts, so we want to make sure that you stay on task with the correct question that I'm going to ask here. I did the same question at the City of Manchester's forum. Social media has been something that has exploded all across. You see it for news services, just like on Target News. That's what I do. So we put the information out there. It's not only on our website, but it's also on social media. So social media can be one thing for a positive thing for city government, for businesses, for whatever it might be. But it can also turn to a negative side at times. Some cities, some counties have rules in place about individuals that serve for the city, not only board members, but also employees. Should there be rules put in place about conduct on social media when it comes to being in the mayor's seat in the job that you're out there campaigning for? Should there be rules set about social media? And it being the biggest question is that always comes up, is it on your time? Are you always mayor? Or are you a private citizen when you go home? Is it proper to make those comments that maybe somebody doesn't like, or what, they take it the wrong way, or maybe, they think you've crossed the line in some way? So I'm trying to make this as easy for you as I can to say something here about social media, because I've worked for one place in particular that said, let's all stay off social media. And in the position that I had to be on social media. That was part of the job. So it basically came down to I was the only one that was on social media, which made it really hard to do that. So, as I said, social media can be good, and the city, has people in place to make statements on the city's Facebook page, Twitter, whatever it might be, to get information out. That's one thing. But when it comes to making personal comments, I would like to know your feelings on social media, because it is a part of our life now. We'll go with Mr. Peace.
Social media is out of control. Everybody has an opinion. They are not respectful. The more, I try to be polite.
I appreciate that.
People say we have freedom of speech and we should say anything we want, but it's out of control. Most opposition I have, or maybe all the opposition I have in this city, is because of defensive comments I have made in the past 36 years. I do it when people accuse me or put lies out on media, and I get very defensive and I lose my manners. I think as much power as we get from the Constitution, we should limit the free speech by insulting each other. We only give a bad image of our city if we attack each other.
Let's see, how did I go last time? We'll go, Liam, we'll go with you.
Can you clarify, you're talking about the elected official and their use of social media?
Elected officials, and also how you would control things with people that work for the city and
Okay.
setting rules for board members and all that. Do you think that there should be a plan for that?
So I'm a believer in the First Amendment's free speech. And the reason for that is because I don't think we can have the debates that we need to have if people aren't free to express themselves. And I'm especially a believer that when you're on your own time, it's your right to say what you like to say. With that said, I believe freedom of speech also comes with responsibility. And so if I say something that's irresponsible, then it's going to be up to me to bear the consequences of that. And I think any leader has to pay attention to how they communicate, not just on social media, but in person, on the phone, on TV, a leader has to always be aware of how they're communicating. As far as the city employees, I'm sure there's a policy now on social media use during work. I can't believe that there's not. Every workplace has those now. And it's the same thing, right? If I start saying something that's completely out of control, then I think that can become a discipline issue, but not because of the fact that they spoke, but because of the content of the speech. I work in the defense industry, and there's a lot of discussion every year in our training about what social media, should you even be on social media because of security issues. And so I think we need to be careful, but I wouldn't just propose making some kind of blanket ban on social media. I just think people should be responsible, especially those in leadership, when they use it.
Thank you. Mr. Glick?
Yeah, I'm not a big social media person myself. I don't really get on social media and comment. When I'm not running for office, I maybe post a picture of my dog or something, but that's about it. And I kind of wish more people would be like that, but I wouldn't want to abridge anyone's First Amendment right that would let them put anything on social media that they wanted to. Especially elected officials, that's what their job is, to get out there and speak their mind. Even though a lot of times things they say are deplorable, that's what comes along with the right to have free speech. So as far as employees, yes, there is a social media policy in the city of Tullahoma, and that mainly applies to when they're at work or talking about work or talking about the city of Tullahoma. Other than that, their First Amendment rights are upheld as well, as far as being able to say what they want to. You should, and I think just as a matter of course, I think for elected officials, people that are social media violators, they have to answer to the people at the polls. And if the people would not vote for people that are social media violators and say things that they don't like, that's ultimately the way it's handled, is by the people.
Thank you, sir. All right, I am down to my last question, so you can breathe a little easier now. See, I told you it wouldn't be too bad. All right, since announcing your candidacy, and this is important because each of you are out there campaigning, and you're doing this every day, asking people for their vote. So since announcing your candidacy, what are some of the issues that the citizens of Tullahoma have brought to your attention that they think that really need to be addressed? Now, we've hit a wide range of things during our discussion tonight. But is there anything in particular that people have hit on more than another issue? And Mr. Glick, I will start with you.
I think overwhelmingly everybody that I've talked to is two main issues, and they kind of coincide with each other. And one is concerns about growth, and the other is condition of our roads. And the comment that I hear most often is why we wanting to grow the town bigger when we can't even take care of the roads that we have now. And so that's why my plan focuses on those two key issues: having managed growth, planned growth that we can fiscally handle without raising taxes, and taking care of our city streets and getting that done. And let's make the town look better. Let's make the roads nicer. Let's make it a smoother ride home for everybody.
Mr. Business.
There are many problems in the city of Tullahoma. I gotta be careful what I say because I don't want to expose the people who asked me, they told me certain issues and they asked me what I would do. But I want to tell you a little story, if I may. Back in 1998, I bought some apartments on West Monroe Street. Nobody wanted them because it was a bad neighborhood, let me put it that way. And I bought them. I contacted the police department. At the time they had a K9 unit, and every few days they would come at the apartments and they would get in the apartments and find, if they find something, I would just evict the people. They also used to drop cars, and some other people would come and pick them up. They were full of drugs. Eventually it took me a couple of years. And there was an old car wash next to the apartments, and a bunch of people used to play loud music, and some old Cadillacs, drug dealing, drug using, and am I allowed to say prostitution? I said it. So I went there one day, and I apologize for taking too much time. So I went there, I walked my dog one day, and I said, who's in charge over here? And some skinny guy said, I'm in charge over here. I said, well, you know, we live in the apartments and some other tenants, and the music is always loud, and certain things are happening here. And he said, when you buy the place, you tell me what to do. I said, okay. So I left from there, I called Joe, I said, find out who owns that place. He called me back in 5 minutes. The following morning, 9 o'clock, I bought the place. And then I went over there, and I said to the guy, I got out of the car, and he said, didn't I tell you to come back here when you own the place? I said, well, I just bought it a few minutes ago. Get the hell out of here. So that's a true story. Anyways, and as soon as I bought it, I shut it down because there was no other way to control the situation. Eventually, I bought other properties around the neighborhood. I cleaned the neighborhood. So, answering your question, everybody can do something for the city. There was a part also on West Monroe Street, they used to deal drugs. I went to the police chief and the assistant, and I told them about it. And the answer I got was, what do you want us to do? If we keep them out of there, they go somewhere else, so what's the point? So there are many things we can do in the city, and this is just one example. I did my part, and I will continue to.
Mr. Seaborn.
So I've heard about four issues, walking around knocking doors. I've knocked a couple hundred doors now, I think, and the number one issue I hear above all the others is the behavior of the city board, the current city board. And I know that's hard to hear, but that's what I hear everywhere I go. The second thing I hear is the growth in the infrastructure, and I've also heard some concern about the homeless and just, you know, general safety issues, which is similar to what Mr. Business was just discussing. And, you know, that's a very hard problem, and I've certainly noticed an uptick in that the last few years, but I think that's one of those things you just have to, again, work through enforcement and work with people that help homeless people and see what we can do about that problem. But it is more than it used to be a few years ago. I've heard that issue as well. Those are the four main things I've heard.
Mr. Priestnose, he mentioned you by name. Do you have anything to say when it comes to the homeless?
Well,
I mentioned that in my opening statement, that there is a problem in our town, and I think it's growing as far as the homeless. And I suggested that it's a problem for everybody because it gives a bad image in this town. And if we don't control it, find the solution, it will continue to grow. So we have to look, in my opinion, instead of raising taxes, we need to look into the money that we're already spending, and I believe some money are wasted or mishandled. We can find ways to save some money from the budget, and also ask people who can afford, business people, to help out.
All right. Mr. Glick, your opinion about meeting with the candidates, or meeting with the public, and what some of the things that they have brought to your attention that that really you're a little concerned about.
I started on this, but I can speak on it again if you want me to.
Oh, okay. My bad. It's been a
That's
long time. I guess what I would like to follow up on this is we hear with each candidate tonight about a lot of different things that you see in the city that are positive, and I've heard some things that are negative when it comes to, you know, cleaning up the town and doing these certain things. Let me ask you this: are there certain areas that, or certain things, we'll say that people are bringing to your attention? Because me as a news person, I want to follow up on this. me as a news person, we hear all the time, well, there's drugs going on, there's drugs going on, there's drugs going on in this place, this place, this place, this place. And the police can only do so much at times because they gotta be there, they gotta see it, they gotta know what's really going on. It's not really their fault if they're not there, because people are kind of really sneaky about these type of things. But that seems to be one complaint that you hear is boy, we got a drug problem in this area, we got a drug problem in that area. Can we, does it mean that we have to hire more police officers to control that type of situation? Because if there is a problem and they're maxed out, the police is maxed out on what they can do and being able to work their normal job, is there something that can be done with that? And is there a future plan for growing police, fire protection, anything inside the city that you see that would be a positive move for us to do?
As an alderman or serving on the board, I've heard of drug problems in general. I haven't heard of specific instances or specific places. I've heard of more of an in general thing, and as Mr. Seaborn was saying earlier, I would think that this is something that the staff and the professional people that we hire, we have a great, highly rated chief of police that we recently hired, and I know he has a really good team. And I would, as the mayor or even a board member, I would take their advice on what kind of staff we needed to handle, what kind of staff we needed to hire to be able to take that under control. And look at that. They're the professionals that work with it every day. They know the job. I could take them complaints from the citizens and let them know what I've heard, and it would be their job to come up with a plan, and then we, as a city board, would find a way to fund what they need to do to address the plan.
Okay. That's kind of where I want to go with this, is working with the current chief of police. I know him very well, and his assistant. And, police get stressed sometimes, believe it or not. They go through a lot out here in the community that goes on, and they see a lot of bad things that happen. And there's a lot of things that happen that are a little beyond their control sometimes, believe it or not. People think that they can stop and do whatever, but there are things that they have to be privy to know these situations. Mr. Priestos, I was going to you with this question, so you go right ahead and with your answer to this.
Yeah, I'm 62 years old, and I've never done any drugs. And I told my kids one of these days, I wanted to take me to all these legal states so I can smoke marijuana. I just want to smoke one cigarette. But back in 1997, the city of Tullahoma invited an FBI agent from Washington, D.C. He came in Tullahoma, and he did, for 1 month, a study around Tullahoma. And he gave his report at the city hall, and I was present. The reason I was present is because the police department took a young boy, put an old suit on him, and a hat, and a beard, and they sent him to my restaurant to set us up for a beer for serving minors. So anyway, we were very busy. The waitress comes in the kitchen and says, "Can you serve a beer to the table?" I took one beer, I took it to the table. It was a setup. So I had to go to court and to the city hall. So that day I was in the city hall. That's when the FBI agent gave his report to the city mayor and aldermen. And he said, 1997, we had a serious problem in this town with guns, and drugs. And he specified the areas of Tullahoma that we had the problem. So, I don't know why some people look like this is a new thing in Tullahoma. It's been going on for years. Nobody wanted to address it because for whatever reason they don't want to put themselves in danger, they want to allow people to do whatever they want, but the story is we have had this problem for many, many years.
Okay. Mr. Seaboard?
So, yeah, these kind of problems are just always present. All the best you can hope for usually is to just try to keep them controlled as best you can. And I think the law enforcement here does an excellent job of that. I'd like to point out that, you know, the law enforcement in Tullahoma is not just reliant on just themselves, but the other law services around them. I've got an excellent working relationship with Sheriff Parton, and Sheriff Parton, the entire Sheriff's Department works very well with the city departments. And there's a lot of these kind of issues that are worse over on the Manchester side of the county, not because of anything wrong with Manchester, but by fact of the interstate being there. And unfortunately, Coffee County is somewhat a center for human trafficking because there's an intersection north-south on 55 and east-west on the interstate, and it's just one of the places. And so every once in a while, the sheriff gets involved with the FBI and they have a big roundup. But we have a really good relationship with them, and I just think that in terms of when people start seeing something that's new, like for example the homelessness, if they need to speak up, let us know. And I'm confident that our law enforcement officers will cooperate to try to get those problems under control if we ask them to. As far as the growth in that, you know, the sheriff was explaining to us last year that he is seeing some of that as we've seen growth coming into the county from overflow in Rutherford County. You know, Nashville grew, and then Nashville started overflowing into Rutherford County. Well, some of the crime came along with that, the organized crime. And now Rutherford County is spilling over into Coffee County out in the Beach Grove area. And again, some of that crime is starting to come our way. And so that's one of the disadvantages of growth, is that we may see more of that sort of thing. And if we do, then we need to give our police officers the resources they need, because that's the first and fundamental duty of the government, is to protect the citizens from that sort of thing.
All right, I will say this by saying this about that question. This is a personal thing for me. When it comes to my job and doing what I do, I just want to say thank you to the city of Tullahoma for the communication that is now being done. Mr. Sons has been really, really good to communicate with. It has been an issue, I will not lie. It had been an issue in the past, and I think they are doing a great job with communicating and telling me what's going on, and I certainly appreciate the communication level of that. Police departments are stressed throughout the community, you know, throughout our communities in this area, but they are stressed throughout the country, and let's support them in any way we can, and be smart how we control you know, the growth in town, and know, like you said, like all of you said, that drugs can be a problem, and I'll say it as well, prostitution can come into an area. It can, and drug trafficking and sex trafficking is a problem in this area. It's been known before, it's been a news story before, and I know that the police departments are doing really all they can, because you know, you can only afford to do so much when it comes to hiring enough officers. Well, I mean, we can hire 150 officers, and then, you know, is that enough? Who knows? But I will say that as a personal note to all this, that I commend Mr. Sons and his staff, Mr. Kennedy and all of them, what they're able to do currently with the job they have, and I commend them for that. All right, so in a closing statement, Mr. Seaborn, we're going to start with you. We started with you, so we're going to let you have your closing 1-minute statement.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the sponsors of this event, the Tullahoma News, On Target News, 93.9, the Duck, and the radio stations, and the Tullahoma City Schools, because they had to come and make this open for us. And I want to thank you as the citizens, whether you're here in person or out online or watching this later on YouTube, for listening to this discussion. I think it's important as citizens for you to be involved in your city government, and I hope this evening was helpful to you. If you want to learn more about my campaign, you can check out my website, seburnformayor.com. I want you to know, finally, that my goal as mayor is to help make Tullahoma the kind of place that you're proud to live and it makes you feel at home. Now, that's a tall order, because everybody wants different things, right? So if we ask the question, what makes Tullahoma great, we get a lot of different answers. Some people would say it's the athletics here and athletic heritage, and I just have to say I can't believe I've gotten to personally attend 2 state championship games, successful state championship games in the last few years. To some people, it's the arts and theater in Tullahoma. I'm involved in that. To some people, it's the technical work at AEDC and the surrounding engineering community, and to other people, perhaps it's the lakes and the waterfalls and the natural beauty, and for some of us, maybe it's all the above. But no matter who you are or what your dreams are, I think it's important that your government provides the basic services you need and builds on new opportunities for the future while treating you with dignity and respect. And that's why the slogan on my sign says, "A future for everyone." Thank you, and I appreciate your vote.
Mr. Glick?
One thing that's kind of confused a lot of times is that people think the Board of Mayor and Aldermen are city employees or they work for the city. Well, they don't. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen and the mayor are representatives of the people. They represent the people to the city. So with that in mind, I believe that I'm uniquely qualified to represent the people as the mayor of Tullahoma. I'm an alderman now. I was a city employee, but first and foremost, I am a Tullahoman. This experience will help me to guide the city, to help guide the city along the path to a great future. The people should control the government, not the other way around. And as your mayor, I will make sure that all people's rights are upheld and that the people control the government. Thank you. And I ask for your vote.
Let him say that one more time, Glenn.
And I'd like to ask for your vote for mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Glick. Mr. Peace, your time to wrap it up. Microphone, please.
Even though I was born in a different country, at a farm, I was always a working boy. I'm still a farming boy. I am part of this town for the last 36 years. Even though I bought some properties, I still feel like a working man and one of you people of Tullahoma. If you choose to elect me at the position of mayor of Tullahoma, I make only one promise. My door will always be open. I will hear every person that comes to me, and I will take your concerns at the meetings, and I will fight for you. A lot of people are cautious to come in front of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, they are concerned for retaliation from other people, their employer, their supervisor, their co-workers, and the attack from other people on the media. This will be no more. Everyone will have a voice to raise their concerns with me. My promise is a contract with you people of Tullahoma. You come in front of me, I will take your concerns at the meetings. I can only speak for myself on this last issue. Whatever salary the city of Tullahoma pays the mayor, I will triple it with my own money and give it all to the people of Tullahoma. I will contribute in many more ways, but this is just the first thing on my agenda before opening the door of my office to every person with his concerns. And after all you heard, the choice is clear. Vote for me.
Thanks, sir. All right. The audience has been awesome. Thank you for being respectful to these candidates, for putting your name out there. We thank you all again for doing this. It's not an easy thing to do, as you know, and we wish them success in any way that they continue on in their service to this town, because I believe that whoever wins, the other two will continue to help the city of Tullahoma. And I think that's the most important thing I've heard here tonight, that they all three care really about this town. So thank you for being here. Now we're going to take a commercial break on the radio, and we'll get the automatic candidates up here, and each candidate, if you would, meet with me before taking your seat, and then that way I know how we're arranging things. But thank you all so much. Lynn, for a good job tonight. We appreciate all of you. Thank you all so much. This is the political forum from 93.9 Duck, Tullahoma News, and also on Light 2K. Thank you.